Welcome back to the True Geordie YouTube channel, and if you haven't already, you've got to subscribe because this thing just keeps getting crazier and crazier. I thought Game of Thrones was enthralling. This is insane. But we're going to start with the head of the Secret Service, Kimberly Cheatle, who, if the official story is to be believed, was outsmarted by a 20-year-old loser who not long since left high school. Yeah, with all of the money and all of the soldiers and everything else at her disposal, she allowed this guy to take a shot, multiple shots, at Donald Trump, and now she's been hauled in front of Congress and a committee have absolutely grilled her. And I can't lie, it's pretty fucking amazing.
Who made the decision to deploy 12 to the First Lady's event and 3 to the Trump event?
The allocation of resources is decided based on the availability of personnel and their location and where they are, but there were sufficient resources.
What did you just say?
How can she say that they were sufficient? He got shot. If they were sufficient, then that wouldn't have happened.
Someone got killed. There were not sufficient resources, clearly.
There was,
and it doesn't take 27 years of experience to know that. And whoever made that decision, it probably wasn't you, needs to be fired. And then you need to resign because this is absolutely unacceptable. And you've lost the trust of the American people.
He nailed that. And by the way, a lot of people are lining up to nail her as well. This is a gangbang up in here.
Does the Secret Service routinely record communications between and amongst detail?
Radio communications are recorded.
Does the Secret Service have recorded communications from the July 13th event?
We do not have radio communications from that day.
It just so happens that on that one day, we forgot to hit the record button. What am I like, eh? Now, the problem with what she's saying here is if we had those recordings, and she is telling the truth, we would be able to listen to them and realize that it's just incompetence and bad management. But the fact that they would usually be recorded and just so happen to have not been recorded on the day Donald Trump got shot adds more weight to the idea that this is a conspiracy.
We have satellite images from the Butler Fairgrounds. Have you visited the site?
No, I have not.
9 days and you have not visited the site. Shooter has visited the site 2 more times than you have. And he had a drone, and he picked the AGR building.
He's just fucking annihilated us straight up, man. The fact that he said the shooter has been to the site 2 more times than you have, and he used the drone, it just shows like she's just winging it.
Does the Secret Service have written policy you can share with us about slope roofs?
No.
Okay. So why'd you act like there was one? Because is it your practice to comment on enormous events of enormous national implications when you're ignorant of the facts? That's rhetorical. So here's this thing with the slopes. You go all up to like 1812, you can go to a 112, which is about as flat as you can get without it being completely flat. And you're saying that there was a danger, safety concern there, but the problem is, Director, you put your counter snipers on a 312 roof, which is steeper than the 112.
Oh, he has done her big time, son. Douche! Right out the park, my guy. Oh, the fact that she used the slope roof as an excuse as to why they didn't go there when you put your actual snipers on steeper slope roofs. You fucking bullshitter.
You can build a ramp for a wheelchair on a 112 roof.
Oh no, he didn't just say that. Wheelchair accessible. You're telling us that the Secret Service aren't fit enough, it's too dangerous to get on that level of slope roof, and he's out here saying that a wheelchair can get up here. Shut the fuck up, woman.
All the law enforcement I've spoken with over the last 9 days are amazed that the AGR rooftop was not secure.
I play shooting games online all the time, and like the slope roof is the one you always go for because it enables you to kind of hide underneath the slope a little bit, but to perch your gun right on the slope and boom. Even computer game guys like myself know that. This woman is literally decades in the service, apparently.
I have never had any long gun training in my life. I own an AR-15, and last time I shot it one time my whole life. It was 6 years ago. That is until Saturday, where we recreated the events in Savoy, Texas. We recreated what happened in Butler. I was lying prone on a sloped roof at 130 yards at 6:30 at night. And I knew that he had a scope. I didn't know what kind, red dot or magnified. So I shot 8 rounds from both. You know what the result was? 15 out of 16 kill shots. And the one I missed would have hit the president's ear. That's a 94% success rate. And that shooter was a better shot than me.
Fucking hell. It's criminally incompetent or it's a total conspiracy. It comes back to that. And by the way, that dude who just put it on her was fucking great.
Who was the agent in charge? How long has she been the agent in charge? And what is her Secret Service background?
So I'm not going to provide a name.
Why not? You're here to answer our
This
questions.
forum, I'm not going to provide names of.
You stated in your testimony, you said, I am here today to answer your questions.
That is correct.
Answer the question.
I'm not going to provide names of our personnel. To
Why
this
not?
committee today?
The American people are demanding these answers from you today, Ms. Cheatle.
I will do the best to provide you accurate information based on the facts that I have at this time.
Is that doing your best, is it? Not answering the fucking question.
We'd like a copy of the advance report. Have you brought it here with you today?
We will comply with the request for the documentation that has been requested.
When will that be, Ms. Cheatle? Because you should have brought it today.
I am certain that our personnel are working on obtaining all of that documentation.
Obtaining, meaning rewriting it so that it makes us not look as bad. You fucking fraud.
I don't believe you, and neither do the people watching this hearing. You're not doing well, as Mr. Moskowitz informed you. Why was Crooks able to fly a drone over the entire area the day of the rally and the day of his assassination attempt?
To my knowledge, he did not fly the drone over the entire area.
How did he fly a drone over the area, period? Any part of the area?
Again, I would have to go back and check the timeline of when that took place and when the event.
Why didn't you bring the timeline with you today to answer our questions?
I don't have all of the answers on the timelines based on the criminal investigation.
She's had how long to get this shit together? You're telling us you don't have the information. You're the fucking boss. Everything is at your fingertips. She deliberately did this as a way of avoiding answering questions.
Do you have a timeline at all from any of the day?
I have a timeline that does not have specifics.
It's amazing that we look at these people like ahead of the Secret Service. If anyone ever told me that, I'd be mind blown. Like, wow, you must be not only a super genius, but very dedicated, very smart, and very good at covering everything. This woman oversaw the assassination attempt of Donald Trump and doesn't have specifics on a timeline. Days after it took place. Didn't remember to bring the timeline. Fucking hell. I never thought it'd be this bad. Like, this is where you're like, conspiracy, this like, fuck me.
That is absolutely unacceptable. That means you are a failure at your job. People see Crooks laying on his stomach in a sniper position on the roof, and they're yelling he has a gun, and they are trying to alert law enforcement and Secret Service. Why was Crooks not shot by the snipers? Why was he allowed to be there?
As soon as the individual was identified as a threat, they were...
No. What do you consider to be a threat?
Let him get fucking 8 shots off before that, didn't you?
What about a man laying on a building that has direct line of sight of President Trump with a gun that people are screaming and pointing out? Is that a threat, Ms. Cheatle?
Once that individual was identified, they were neutralized.
No, they were neutralized. Crooks was neutralized after he shot President Trump
Exactly.
in the face,
Exactly.
Ms. Cheatle. Is he only a threat once he fires the weapon?
As soon as the counter sniper identified that individual, they were able to neutralize them.
Because she's just blatantly lying, she's really making herself look so untrustworthy. Like, do you know if she'd come hands up and went, you know what, I'm really disappointed in myself, I am so sorry, and begged for forgiveness and said, you know, I'm not up to this job, I've clearly made a huge mistake. I think the world would have taken yeah, we would have still been frustrated at her, but you could at least respect the honesty. But to have the bald-faced cheek of this woman to consistently just shut down questions and lie, how on earth can we think that this woman might not have been involved in some sort of conspiracy? She seems guilty as fuck. The least she could do is tell the whole world what we already know and stop insulting our intelligence and hold our hands up and say, I fucked up and I'm not good enough.
People under your command did not consider him to be a threat, yet people in the crowd knew he had a gun and considered him to be a threat. That means that you are a complete failure as the director of the Secret Service, that people under your command don't perceive a man laying on a roof with direct line to the president with a gun. They don't perceive that to be a threat, yet the people in the crowd do. How is that possible?
I'm not certain at this time how the information from the people in the crowd was relayed to any law enforcement personnel.
No, you knew, that everyone knew. The people there knew that there was a danger. They knew there was a threat to President Trump, and it was allowed to happen. Was there a stand-down order, Ms. Cheatle? Was there a conspiracy to kill President Trump?
Wow.
Absolutely not.
then how did this happen?
That is what we are investigating to determine.
She won't even give over the name of the person in charge. Was anyone in charge?
Were you guessing or lying when you said you didn't turn down requests from President Trump's detail?
So what I can tell you is that for the event in Butler, there were no requests that were denied. As far as requests...
Well, maybe they got tired of asking. Maybe you turned them down so darn much, they said, not worth asking. How many times did you turn them down ahead of that?
I think that it is important to distinguish between what some people may view as a denial of an asset or a request.
Well, is Mr. Guglielmi your spokesperson? He said he acknowledged the Secret Service had turned down some requests. I'm asking how many?
A denial of a request does not equal a vulnerability.
Well, tell me what it is.
Answer the fucking question. How many times, man?
How many times did you tell him no, and what'd you tell him no to?
Again, I cannot speak to specific incidents, but I can tell you in general terms.
Why not? Fuck me.
What'd they ask for, and how many times did you turn them down? Pretty basic questions.
So again, without having all of the details in front of me, sir, what I can tell you is that there are times...
You didn't get briefed on how many times you turned down the Trump detail when they asked for additional help?
I'm sorry.
You didn't get briefed on that before you came to this hearing, knowing you were going to get asked that question?
What I can tell you is that in generic terms, when details make a request, there are times that there are alternate ways to cover off on that threat.
I really am beginning to hate this person. The way she just slithers away from questions like a fucking little snake on her belly. Come on, man. Show some backbone. Hold your fucking hands up, you absolute failure. Can we just sort of wrap our heads around this one thing right now, right? Is like, when you make mistakes in a workplace, I understand sometimes people, if they didn't do a little cleanup job here and there or whatever, little job, it's not a big deal. You can lie about it, right? When someone almost dies, being the president, and actually innocent people did die that day, you think you take it very fucking seriously and you'd be very concerned as to the fact that happened and go, bloody hell, I need to really hold my hands up and go, this is what happened. I'm so sorry. And her level of empathy for what her ignorance, incompetence, and potentially even worse than that has put people through. I'm stunned because I used to work in a really dangerous job, and if I had not checked the piece of equipment and it had led to the death of another person, I mean, bloody hell, not only would I be in tears and upset and very regretful that that mistake had led to that, but fucking hell, you'd hold your hands up, wouldn't you? This woman is stone-faced killer. This body language, this attitude is making me believe more and more that she is corrupt. She's shown she's corrupt. She's avoiding the truth. In her position, that is corruption already. How corrupt is it? We don't even know. Fucking snake.
Let me ask you this. Were any of those requests denied to President Trump's detail after you knew about the Iranian threat?
What I can tell you, again, I don't know the specifics, is that...
Your job is to know. That's what you're put there for. Head of the Secret Service and using, I don't have that information right now, constantly.
Why was President Trump allowed on stage 10 minutes after the Secret Service spotted a suspicious individual? That seems to me to be the worst thing of all. Of all the breakdown and all this communication, all the BS you've been feeding us here today or not feeding us, that seems to be the question.
So as I've stated before, there are a number of events where suspicious people may be identified. That doesn't necessarily...
Ma'am, I submit to you, you got a guy who's going to be the next president of the United States. He's on stage. I've been to these events. We've all been to these events. A car backfires, and there's a 15-minute dadgum wait. That's not acceptable. Did the Secret Service tell President Trump they'd spotted a suspicious individual before he was shot?
I am unclear as to what the communication was with the former president.
Okay.
I don't know. Imagine going in there and actually sitting there and feeding that shit to these people. God knows what it must have been like before she walked in that door. You know, when you go to the bathroom and you've got a bit of a daunting task ahead of you and you just have that look in the mirror of like, here we go. She must have been sitting there washing her hands and looking in the mirror and going, fucking hell, I don't know shit. That's my story. I ain't got a clue. My days.
This is a yes or no series of questions. Was this a colossal failure? Yes or no?
Yes.
Was this tragedy preventable? Yes or no?
Yes.
Has the Secret Service been transparent with this committee?
Yes.
Would you say the fact that we had to issue a subpoena to get you to show up today as being transparent? Yes or no?
I have always been
Yes
eager to
or no?
come
You didn't
and
want to
talk
answer the
the
question.
We had to force you to come. Is that transparency, bitch? Honestly, I'm fucking losing. This is doing my head in this like.
We had to issue a subpoena to get you to show up today. That is not transparent, by the way. You stated earlier, Secret Service is not political. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Would you say leaking your opening statement to Punchbowl News, yes or no?
I have no idea how my statement got out.
Well, that's bullshit. So, Mr. Chairman,
By the way, she's a bad motherfucker, this girl. I really enjoy her attitude.
you say you're fully cooperating with this committee. On July 15th, this committee sent you a list of demands of information that we wanted. Has the Secret Service provided this committee a complete list of all law enforcement personnel that were there that day? Have you done that? Have you provided a list to the Oversight Committee? Yes or no?
I will have to get back to you on that.
That is a no. Have you provided all audio and video recordings in your possession to this committee, as we asked on July 15th? Yes or no?
I would have to get back to you.
That
on
is a no. You're full of shit today.
Oh!
You're just being completely dishonest.
Oh, I love her. God almighty. She's great.
Completely dishonest.
Mr. Chairman, I want to.
Come on.
We have to maintain decorum.
Oh, yeah, we don't want to say a naughty word while this woman is denying any knowledge of anything that took place that day where people died. But, she said shit. Come on, man. Time to grow the fuck up.
How many Secret Service personnel have been required to take a refresher course on how not to let people shoot Donald Trump?
Our personnel are currently operational. We are examining the facts of this investigation.
Once they're not busy, we'll get onto it. But for now, let's just carry on as normal. It's not a problem.
Did you review the security plan for this event?
I personally do not review security plans for events that take place across the country.
Do you think you would have probably given it a once-over, though, after the president, I don't know, nearly got shot and killed? Maybe it might have been worth a look.
We have a number of events that
Who's
take
the
place.
top-level official who reviews the security plans?
There's a number of people that review security plans.
Who's
as they
ultimately
unfold.
responsible for signing off on a security plan?
It's a conjunction of personnel. There are people on the ground, there are supervisors on the detail, there are people at headquarters.
Yeah, we'll just all sort of muck in and everyone just does their bit. What the fuck are we doing here? This ain't running a fucking, supermarket shop floor, motherfucker. This is a fucking president's safety we're talking about.
Isn't there an individual who signs off on the plan?
Much like how we design our security plans, they're multi-layered, there are multiple layers.
So there's
of
no
people.
accountability.
It's very multi-layered. The more messy it is and the more layers you have to get through, the harder it is to finger point and say this person is responsible and therefore to blame. And it's deliberately set up that way. Every fucking time in government.
Did they share with you how many shell casings were on the roof?
They have shared with me the
Did they
evidence
share with you how many shell casing were on the roof?
Yes.
Okay, how many were there?
I would refer to the FBI for their
How
investigation
many were there?
and their information that they need to share in their investigation.
So they've shared the information with you. You just don't want to share the information with us, correct?
We have concurrent investigations that are going on.
So they have shared this information with you. You know the answer to the question. You just refuse to answer the question from the member of Congress who has subpoenaed you to be here. Is there a different answer to that question?
Oof.
I was always willing to come here and testify before this oversight hearing.
Beautiful. Then let's
Wasn't
do
a-
that.
was
Let's
necessary.
for once have your actions match your words. So you've been in communication
great.
with the FBI. You know the answers and you refuse to tell us the answers. So I will ask you again. You know how many shell casings were on that roof. What is the answer to that question?
I think it's pertinent.
What is the answer to that question?
Yes.
I think it's pertinent to talk to you about the information that the Secret Service has and that the Secret Service knows related
I'm
to the
asking
events
you
on
an
that day.
answer.
Fucking hell, man.
If you're supposed to be in charge, if the buck stops with you,
Yeah.
how come you can't share the answers? What are you covering up?
I'm-
What are you hiding, my friend?
Ooh.
I'm not covering anything else.
Then why can't you answer a simple question?
I would leave it to the criminal investigation.
She's a fucking bullshitter. I speculated in previous episodes I'd done on this that this was a cover-up. I've never seen something more screaming, this is a cover-up, in my life than her answers. This is someone who is saying, I will let you go here and no further because the truth is actually so bad I can't even speak it. And if things didn't stink enough in this investigation, we've actually got more news about the shooter, Crooks, and the fact that someone who visited his home and work through their phone records, we know they also visited a building nearby the FBI office in DC a year ago. And look, that could be innocent, but it doesn't look good, does it, when nobody trusts the FBI? And this is a screenshot of the location of the phone signals, I guess. Now let's talk about Joe Biden, who within 7 days of Donald Trump being shot, mysteriously declared himself unfit for re-election. Funny that, isn't it? It's weird how Donald Trump gets shot, survives it, and all of a sudden everything just changes very, very quickly in the White House. Look, I'm sure it's just a coincidence. Nothing to say here. Move along. Bearing in mind, he resigned via a tweet, which for a man who served in office for as long as he had, you'd have thought you'd have been on camera. You'd have thought you'd have been, saying, look, this is why, and explaining to the American people who donated to his campaign, who voted for him, all of the trust that they put into him. And yet a tweet was enough, was it? It's staggering. It's more weird, shady shit that we're just going through right now, that people are acting like it's normal. It's not normal. And by the way, on that tweet, it was a digital signature and no official letterhead of the White House. So again, it didn't look official in any way, shape or form. And apparently his staff at the White House had no idea this was coming, completely blindsided, and they literally found out off of Twitter. Again, perfectly normal, I'm sure. So that's no address to the nation, no pre-recorded message, no press release, nothing. For a president decided not to run for re-election. First time it's happened in God knows how many decades. Just a tweet. And look, I've always thought that the presidents, while they are frontmen and while they may have some power behind the scenes, I always believed that a lot of the power is behind the camera, the people we don't see. And if anything has made me believe this even more, it's what we're seeing with Joe Biden right now. You think you're voting for the guy on stage, there's a lot more going on behind it. And then within 24 hours of him endorsing Kamala Harris and her getting this opportunity, apparently this whole time she's been fully believing that Joe Biden is running for president, and out of nowhere he tells her, look, it's up to you now. And within 24 hours of being caught off guard completely out the blue, she manages to raise $81 million. Now does that sound to you like she's just found out the blue, does it? Or does it sound more like this was the plan all along? Fucking suspicious, that's for sure. And by the plan all along, I don't necessarily mean Joe Biden's plan all along. I think he probably thought, I'm going to run. But the forces behind him have decided against that. And he has been removed. Because he was probably just an ignorant little puppet in all of this. I mean, look at the state of him. If there's anyone who would be easy to manipulate, it's a bloke who mentally is basically regressing into... He's fucking Benjamin Button, man. He's practically a child at this point. And one thing that this tells me is Kamala Harris must have been in on it. She knew, and she is not to be trusted because, remember, the American people are supposed to have the right to vote for their nominee from the left or the right, and they have now been denied that because she has been hand-selected. Despite previously running for president, I don't think she got a single fucking vote the first time. Talk about democracy. Yeah, there's your democracy. Oh, Donald Trump's a threat to democracy. This motherfucker's running for office. She's never got a fucking vote yet. It's unbelievable, man. So I'm going to leave it there for the day. I really appreciate all of you lot supporting these videos. If you want to see more, hit the like button. It really does help. And look, I'm enjoying making them because this shit is more entertaining than any TV show you've ever seen in your life. I used to watch House of Cards and think, it's too far-fetched. Nah, that would never happen. Now, House of Cards seems so much tamer than reality. It is insane what we're watching. Do let me know what you thought of this in the comments. I really love reading your feedback. Much appreciated, and I'll catch you on the next one.